Good day, scholars. So today is day 10 of COVID-19 quarantine distance learning. The date is Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. And today we're going to be looking into planes, trains, and automobiles. How does this technology that was invented between 100 years, 40 years, or 20 years beforehand, how does it affect the 20s? How does it change lives for everyone? And how did they get to where they are at this time period? Today we'll be mainly focused on automobiles, and then tomorrow we'll be looking more into the planes. So, putting America on rubber tires. So, the automobile changed the American industry and life. New assembly lines and mass production techniques led to America's love affair with machinery, especially the car. An assembly line is a conveyor belt, more or less, where the object goes down it, and this person's job is to turn a bolt. This person's job is to put a screw in. This person's job is to put a light bulb in. And that's what they do day in and day out. Having one person doing one simple job over and over again makes it efficient, easier, and cheaper to make these things because now they are mass produced. Supply and demand, we went over this in financial lit. All the classes actually went over this already. Um, if you have more of something, you could sell it for less. So the assembly line is started by Henry Ford. You may know Ford cars and what he did. So the image here is them actually putting together a car, and you can see the first group of men, the three of them, one's putting a steering wheel, the other two are like screwing it into place, and then that car will just move down the assembly line, and the next person will put on the headlights, and then down the line they'll be putting on the tires, and by the time it gets to the end, it's a completely finished car. So inventing the automobile. The automobile, as we know it, is actually invented in 1886 in Europe by a man named Carl Benz. If you ever heard of Mercedes-Benz, that's basically that company. And in the 1890s, it's adapted by the Americans, Ford, and other inventors. In 1910, there are 69 car companies producing 181,000 cars, but they're very unreliable. The gasoline or the oil that they use at this time period is highly explosive. Um, they don't have power steering, so it's very difficult to steer. They have wooden tires, which broke pretty easily. This is an image of the very first car, so you can actually see what it looked like. And now we're going to get to Ford. This is an example of the Model T. This is one from today. That's still around today. These started getting produced in 1908. And these were the first mass-produced cars that were created to allow many people to basically travel where they want. And at the time period, they had wooden tires as well. This, to be street legal, has rubber tires, but before then it was wooden tires. So the auto industry grows. Frederick W. Taylor, Taylorism is the father of scientific management. He's the stopwatch to study movements of industrial workers to eliminate wasted motion. So this would be like us in school, just like literally making sure like you go from point A to point B. When you get in, you take out your pencil. You don't sit there and talk. You just take out your pencil to get ready to work because it's wasting time to look for your pencil when class starts. So he would sit there, and to be efficient, he would um, do whatever he can to stop wasting time because every couple of seconds you save 2 seconds from everyone's movements. You have 30 people, that's a minute saved. So minute saved every, couple hours, or every, half an hour, an 8 hour workday, that's 16 minutes saved. That's 15 minutes of more productivity. Henry Ford is mostly responsible for popularizing the car in the US. The picture there is Henry Ford next to a Model T. So it's the same car, not the same exact car, but the same type of car that you saw in the other image. And between the 1910s and 1920s, he used the assembly line of production for efficiency, known as Fordism, and standardized cars. He made cars cheap enough for most workers. It cost $260 in the mid 1920s to buy a car, which is equivalent to $3,362 today. That is still extremely cheap. You usually cannot get a used car for less than 8,000, a good quality used car. And these are brand new cars that are coming off the assembly line. So the cost of the Model T between 1908 and 1924. It says the cost of Model T. Henry Ford's mass production techniques cut the cost of production dramatically and put the automobile within reach of the workman's purse. Cost is shown in months of labor and employee at the average national wage. So in 1908, when it first came out, a person would have to work 20 months. Now you're in school for 10 months a year, so imagine going to your school as your work, going there for 2 years just to buy a car, saving almost every penny you have. By 1920, he got it down to about 3.5 months, 3 months of actual working, which, although it's still pretty high, everyone was able to afford because that's the average amount. People made more than that, some people made less, but if you made less, you did not need a car. You were able to ride a horse or catch a ride with someone else or take public transportation. The cars for the wealthy and then became for the middle class citizens as time went on. So passenger car registers within the United States between 1900 and 1992. You can see how many cars are being registered in the United States and how they just keep increasing. Between 1920 and 1930, which is the roaring 20s, we're looking from having about 5 million cars in the United States, going all the way up to about 31 million cars over 10 years, which is a lot. By the time we get to 1992, where this graph ends, you're looking at 142 million cars in the United States, and that number is much greater today. 300, 4 million, 400 million cars, yeah, in the United States. Sorry. So the impact of the automobile on trains and automobiles 1900 to 1980. So the first graph shows the red line is railroad tracks and the purple line is surfaced roads. And the second one is passenger train cars and the other one is automobiles. So you can see from 1900 to 1913, 1914, there were way more railroad tracks in the United States than actual paved roads. Paved roads means it has some sort of stone or rock on it. It's not a dirt road that will become mud and unpassable in the rainstorm. You can see the skyrocket of the automobiles and then the drop off of trains. Today, trains are very rarely used except for New Jersey Transit or the subway system. But other than that, you really don't take trains places anymore. Which is why Patterson itself actually switched to making silk around this time and making textiles such as clothing because Patterson used to make trains. You see two examples of the trains across the street from our school. The bigger one was actually at the connection of, sorry, the bigger one was actually in the Panama Canal. We talked about the Panama Canal at the beginning of the year. And the smaller one is one of the first trains built in the country. What I was saying before was another train that was built in that building in Patterson was actually at Promontory Point when they connected the Transcontinental Railroad. So one of those trains was built in Patterson. But both of them, you can see how the advent of the automobile got rid of the trains. Trains go from point A to point B. An automobile could take you anywhere you want at any time. So here are just some examples of cars from the time period. As you can see, they are really nice. They're really beautiful. This is a 1928 car. I forget the model of it, but these are all collector's items now. Here's a different one. Kind of looks like a Model T, but it has a convertible in the back. Again, all these had to be shifted. There was no automatic cars, and it was very difficult to drive them. I even showed you guys the video last year. I will actually link the video in the Google Classroom report of the reporter driving the Model T for the first time and what it was actually like for them. And this is just an example of what some of the people planned these cars out. So this was in the 1920s, what they thought the future of cars would look like. And it kind of does look like almost like something James Bond would drive. So if you watch any of the new James Bond movies, a lot of the cars kind of look like this. So by to me, the 50s, 60s, 70s, there are some cars that look like this, but for the most part, this was just fantasy to actually see what it looked like. All right. So at your convenience, I would like you to watch this video. This is a 1920s video that um, it's actually kind of funny. It's slapstick. It's like, Three Stooges, Charlie Chaplin type thing, where this guy's driving a car and crashes into stuff and stuff like this. And this is, again, the type of movies they would be watching that would be humorous and funny for them. All right. So here's what we're doing today. It's going to be a common lit article. We're going to do that today and tomorrow. So I transcribe the common lit article to a Google Doc along with the three discussion questions. So I'm only posting that one for you today. So you're going to read it and do the three discussion questions at the bottom. Um, Tomorrow, I will then upload this to Common Lit for us. You will again just answer the 5 questions that go along with it, and then you could copy and paste your responses from today's lesson onto that one so it gets fully done. And you get the full grade on it. Yeah, so we're just doing that today with this. Um, Please read. Please make sure you restate the prompt, answer the question, and cite evidence, also known as erasing the question. If you do not do that, I cannot give you full credit on the responses. We're at that time period, ladies and gentlemen, where we should be writing complete sentences. Please, 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 please write in a complete sentence. If you have issue with that, if you're not sure how to do that, please reach out to me or Miss Rivera or Miss Robinson, ELA teachers, and I am sure that they will be more than happy to help you. Anyway, have a great day. I'll catch you all later.